Good morning, everybody. My name is Lee Woodman. So I run a company called Visit Digital and one of the coaches on the AGP. So today we're going to talk about online business reputation. It's got a bit of a lean towards e-commerce, but fundamentally it's all the same. Whatever kind of business you really run online, reputation, as it says there, is everything. So without further ado, let's look at the kind of digital landscape at the moment. So the journey to actually purchase something is a very kind of neat representation of what that looks like. So something triggers, a user's interest, and they go off on this journey of kind of exploration, evaluation, and finally, after they've done their evaluation, it's kind of on to purchase. So typically at this point of purchase, you're looking at around 2 to 4% conversion. So, 2 to 400 people will actually buy something from your website. It's a very broad number, but generally that's the kind of figure that you're looking at. They call this process in the middle, the messy middle. Yeah. So it actually looks a bit like this. It's very difficult to know what's going on in the middle there. But we know somebody comes in, at some point they go on an exploration and they buy something at the end. So trying to understand and pick apart what actually influences those decisions in the messy middle is quite difficult. So that's what we're going to look at today, and try and understand some of the triggers that influence people to buy, especially around reputation. So when it comes to e-commerce, lead gen, whatever it is, let's say, for example, we sell to 200 people on our website, kind of, that's an average conversion rate, let's say. We only need to get one more person of those other remaining 98 to convert on our website, and we double our revenue, or we double our lead pipeline. Yeah, so we're talking very small numbers to have quite a significant impact on revenue or leads. Yeah. So the question is, how do we nudge them over the line? Yeah. How do we influence them to buy our products or services? Yeah. So these are some of the key influences on the purchase decision. So category heuristics, the power of now. If you tell me I can have it tomorrow, that's powerful. Scarcity bias. So, if there's only 2 left, I'm just going to grab at that because I might miss out. Authority bias. So if there's 100 people in the room, but one of those is a doctor, you might trust him more, even if everyone else is saying something else. And the power of free. Give me a free pen with this purchase, I'm more inclined to buy. And the most powerful one of all is social proof. So if other people have a good experience with your brand, they're much more likely to buy as well. Yeah. So one of the key things we need to do is convey expertise, authority, and trust via our websites. So we need to think about the journey that people actually take to buy our products and services. So this is a website called Car Buyer. Now, 98% of the traffic that arrives at Car Buyer is on non-brand search terms. So they might search for something like Ford Fiesta review. They've never heard of Car Buyer before. Yeah, so their journey literally starts, and for 90 out of 100 people, it starts without really understanding or knowing the Car Buyer brand. Yeah, so that's quite an important part of the kind of next step. So we think back at this point to our trigger. So somebody's going, we need a new car. They go online. What's the best family cars, as an example? Or in the example that we're going to give you, it's about bunk beds. Yeah. So the exploration phase of this. Yeah. So we're gonna go exploring. Also, or very often involves a search engine. And so you can see with one of these clients here, 40, 50, 60, 72%, if my maths is correct, of their traffic comes from basically Google, whether that's paid search or organic search. Yeah, that's quite a big chunk of their traffic, which comes in from search engines. Now, a lot, if we go back to that car buyer example, a lot of people search for what we call generic search terms, bunk beds. There's no brand in that search. So if we look at the results we've got here, we've got Argos, IKEA, Wayfair, and Happy Beds. Okay. And, can a bunk bed kill you? So somebody's obviously asking that question. So, we are pretty much familiar with three of those brands. Argos, IKEA, and Wayfair are pretty big hitters. Not only, kind of on the actual high street, but certainly from IKEA and Argos perspective. They're brands we kind of recognize. Happy Beds, maybe not so much. I'd not really heard of them before I started looking at it in this way. So, but I'm not really interested in that. I'm going to go digging, and I'm going to go to page 2. So apparently this is the best place to hide a dead body, is page 2 of the Google search results. So I found down here Flexa World, okay? Flexa bunk beds. Page 2, they do children's bunk beds. Okay, so I'm going to ignore page 1 and I'm going to go fishing on page 2. Now this is their website. Okay, so I've landed here. I've got don't know who the brand is, landed on their website. Subconsciously, there's probably a few things going on here. I'm like, well, never heard of these guys. Is that plastic? Is it what, it's half decent picture. I'm interested in buying it for my kids, but, it's not calling me out. It's not giving me much back to some extent. So when I talk about what is giving back, if we look at Happy Beds, okay, so this is their website for the same search term. This is my experience when I land on their website. So, that's Flexa. This is Happy Beds. Okay, so if we look at some of the key components that Happy Beds are telling me, they're giving me more confidence. So bear in mind, I haven't scrolled here. I've literally landed and I'm consuming their website without actually doing anything else. So we got free shipping. We've got a 5-year guarantee. We've got FIFO. So 7,000 other people have had a good experience of this website. It's made in Britain. I can track my order. I've got sign in, register, and I got help and advice. Yeah. So before I go anywhere else, it's supported a bit of confidence in this brand. Yeah. So versus Flexa, there's nothing going on there. I've got to go fishing to find out who they are, how long they've been doing this for, have any other customers actually bought from them and had a good experience. So there's some couple of key attributes that are present on this page, which give me a bit more confidence. If you look at Argos, interestingly, there's nothing. There's product reviews, but Argos doesn't have any of this like backup. But if you think of the Argos brand, it's a very, very strong brand in its own right. So people, they trust it almost by default to some extent. It's a safe pair of hands. Happy Beds, never heard of them before, but 7,000 other people have had a good experience. Yeah. Okay. So think about how you convey that kind of stuff on your website. There's a financial brand in South Wales, which is the best of the best. And in the footer of their website, they tell people that they're the best of the best, but only 5% of people actually ever see that. Yeah. So that is a key thing that people are going to see above the fold to help them make those key kind of purchase service decisions. Yeah. So, what's the actual commercial value of doing that? So we obviously got Flexa. Yeah, what's the commercial value that we're talking about? So a little bit text heavy for a second, but Google did a large shopping experiment with in-market shoppers. They simulated 310,000 purchase scenarios across multiple sectors, financial, consumer, retail, travel, utilities, etc. So in the experiment, shoppers were asked to pick their first and second favorite brands within a category, and then a range of biases were applied. So when we talk about our biases, think of reviews, scarcity, those other 6 that we talked about earlier, to see if they could switch their presence or preference from one brand to another. So to test the extreme scenario, the experiments also included a fictional brand. So they completely made it up in each category to see which shoppers had zero prior exposure. So think back to car buyer. 98% of those people had never had prior experience to the car buyer brand. Okay. So just reiterating that. So they tweaked these dials. This is what they could play with in that experiment. And the results show that even the least effective challenger, so it was a fictional cereal brand, still managed to win 28% of the shopper preference from the established favorites. So when it was supercharged, so 5-star reviews, we'll throw some, a good offer in there. And in this case, the most extreme example was a fictional car insurer won 87% of consumer preference when it supercharged it, because, if other people have had a good experience with these brands, which you may not have heard of, but it's more about social proof. It's a huge nudger or influencer to get people to buy your product. Yeah. So what happens when you've not got a good or negative reputation, or it's mixed, or there's a little bit of doubt kind of creeps in? So this is it's quite a specific keyword that somebody searches for with one of my clients, and they rank top 10. So at this point, they're probably 7th, 8th in the search result, and overnight their search engine ranking basically tanks on this term, and it's quite indicative of the whole ranking of the website in general. Okay, so at this point, their review score plummets. They had an issue which was, to be fair to them, completely out of their control, but their customers blamed them for the problem. So, give or take 3 weeks ahead of this ranking plummet, their review score dipped, rankings followed suit. They are what's called a YMWL website. So Google categorizes some businesses as your money or your life. Yeah. So if you're in financial services, shopping, anything that could negatively impact. So somebody reads your website and you're almost advising them of something about a purchase or whatever it is, Google will categorize you as YMWL, and you are consequently very high risk to Google. Yeah. So if your reputation is mixed, this could happen to you very quickly. Yeah. So in this instance, it was a very quick going from like 4.5 stars out of 5 to 2. Rankings absolutely tanked. Very few other changes were made, if any, to the website. So we were like, right, what's happened here? Reviews were a key one that we needed to look at. So we actually went on the offensive with our review strategy, and we started basically looking what was happening. So we basically found that we had a bug with our automatic review invitations, and you can see our organic review invites spiked. So this is people seeking us out to review us. If people seek you out to review you, there's a much higher chance that they are going to give you a negative review. Yes, you have to be proactive and go and get the reviews in the first place, because if you truthfully ask yourself, right, we've got 100 customers bought from us today, what percentage of those people are going to have a good experience? It's probably in the high 90s. Yeah. Why not go and get those reviews from those people? And a much higher percentage will review you than negative, but you have to go and get it, basically. So one of the offensive rankings basically came back. Yeah. Now, I've seen this in a couple of other industries, not quite as extreme as this, but given that we had done very little, if any, other changes to the website other than improve its reputation, that was the result. Yeah, so we're not quite back to where we were before, but we're still top 10. This is 6, 7. This is like, maybe 8, 9. So proactive review strategy is a key one there. So what can actually cause a mixed reputation? Yeah, so poor or mixed reputation. So, delivery, it's a classic, and poor customer service. It's rarely the product. Yeah, which in my experience, it's very rare that customers complain about the products that my clients actually provide. It's normally to do all the periphery journey that they go on. This one, this brand, it's an e-commerce retailer in the UK, one of the biggest in their sector. Whenever I think of that brand about purchasing online, I always factor in that it's not going to arrive for quite a long time. In my opinion, there's no excuse, but they've got logistical issues behind the scenes. Now, if you read their reviews, it consistently talks about delivery problems. Yeah, so that's having quite an impact on their reputation. And if you look at them from a Trustpilot score perspective, they don't score very well because of that issue. And then you've obviously got customer service. So if you do get negative reviews and you don't deal with them properly, if you have customer complaints and you don't deal with them properly, that is another reason why people quite likely to come and slate you on the review platforms. Yeah, so there's a few others, but these are generally the kind of key ones that I see with clients. Yeah. So one of the other issues as well is about your website kind of performance. So this is a restaurant in Swansea, doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But at 5 o'clock every day, their web host used to back up their server, and the website used to trip out for 4 or 5 minutes at a time every day. So in this period of time, which is 30 days, I think it was down like 72 times. Now, if you're in a restaurant, people finish work at 4:30, 5 o'clock. If people are phoning you or checking the website out and the website's not there, that's an issue. That's going to have a negative kind of impression of your brand on those people. Yeah, so you need to be the first one to know, basically, because that can impact reputation. So I run a website called Gower Live. So we've got a few surf webcams on the beaches around Gower. Now, we're trying to maintain 4 broadband connections, 4 webcams. It's a bit of a job, but it's quite a challenge to keep all that stuff, that infrastructure online. So yeah, we get emails whenever they're down. It's like, what are you guys doing? It's so for us, it's about reliability. We assume our websites work. So we've got a website out there. It's in ether. It's doing its thing. It's working. So 50% of the websites that we audit have some kind of issue with how people can make contact. So, this is Harvard. Yeah. So there's meant to be a form underneath here. So you can fill out a survey. Doesn't work on mobile. Yeah. So, generally the bigger they are, the worse they are. But always test your transactions. So just go and test your website. Go and either buy something and refund it. Submit an inquiry. It's all these little things. Phone the phone number. I had one company where the form didn't work, the email didn't work, and the phone number didn't work. So absolute disaster. Again, reputational damage in there. Okay, stock levels, or is it actually out of stock? I see this quite often. If you report it being in stock, it's actually out of stock. So all these little things which can have an impact. Stock is definitely an SEO ranking factor. So we see that quite often, where with one client, they were the last in the market at a key seasonal time, and rankings definitely had an uptick, when everyone else kind of dropped out of the market with no stock. So, that is a key one for reputation. Okay, so review strategy. As I say, you've got to be proactive. What is your review strategy? Are you sitting back waiting for people to review you, or are you going out there and you're automating reviews from platforms like Trustpilot? Can't really do it from Google My Business. Only certain platforms can trigger those. But certainly Trustpilot, FIFO, reviews.io, you can trigger automatic reviews after, say, 3 days of that person receiving their product. Don't send it too early, because then you get the ones, well, you're asking me to review this, but I haven't even received it yet. Yeah. So this is an example where if you go on any Trustpilot review page, you can click on detailed overview and it will give you this trend. So we can see here that this company up until January, for whatever reason, were sending out automatic invitations. So they were to get 60, they were probably sending out, 400 review requests. And so, even if you're doing competitor research or anything like that, you can see what their kind of strategy is. Are they asking for reviews? I suspect they stopped paying about this point. Maybe they didn't think it was having any impact on their business. Definitely does. Yeah. So, Trustpilot is not cheap. You're probably talking 1,000 to 1,500 a quarter for that service, but it definitely has an impact on why people buy. Yeah. And how you react to poor reviews. So a metric which is contained within Trustpilot is this one. So, how many reviews have we replied to? Yeah, because if there is a negative review, well, how have you actually dealt with that in the first place? Yeah. So, and Trustpilot reports on that. Okay. So that's a key one to look at as well. Again, check your competitors. What are they doing? Yeah. So you need to think about where people actually engage with your brand, and how do reviews play an impact or play a part in that kind of journey. So if you're familiar with Google My Business, so whenever you search for brand, quite often you'll see a listing on the right hand side which gives more details. So it'll normally give an image like this. This is a company called Naissance in Neath. Normally give an image, and it'll give some product data down the side. I got just move that out of the way. Yeah. So if we look at my poor presentation skills here. So you can see you can also demonstrate what products you sell. So instead of a boring kind of Google search result, you can add a bit of color. You can add some products that you sell. Critically, you've got your review score in here from Google specifically. That link, just that one, for most e-commerce providers will drive between 1% and 6% of your total digital revenue. Yeah, so you got your website link, and then you got your review score. Yeah, so those two things are intrinsically linked commercially. Okay, so and if somebody searches, okay, so again, think about the user journey. Somebody is searching for your brand. The review score is very clearly presented there. So go and search for your brand, see what your review score looks like, because it's rare we actually search for our own brands online, and we see what a reputation looks like. But if somebody recommends you and it's like, hey, go and check out Naissance or whatever it is, and somebody runs a query like that, they're going to see a review score. So quite often not enough attention is played to this one, and Trustpilot is the one that gets all the attention, or reviews.io or whatever it is. This one is not indicative of your actual company review score. Yeah, so it needs a bit of attention. So so we're just going to touch on your money or your life. How are we doing? Give you a couple of minutes. So Google produces what's called the rater guidelines. So it's like a 200-page document that they give to about 10,000 contractors. And those contractors, they say to them, right, go and search for bunk beds and give us some feedback on the results that we provide. Doesn't have a direct impact on the Google algorithm, but you can imagine they're taking that feedback on board to try and improve different aspects of the search results. So you can go read it. I'll provide the link afterwards. So it says here, for shopping websites, we'll ask you to do some special checks. So look for contact information, policies on payment, exchanges, returns, and reviews and reputation. So all those things, Google is trying to understand how you're conveying those things. Contact information is quite a key one. So think about the payday loan companies back in the day. they give you money instantly. You try and find a phone number to contact them, didn't exist. And most of them got nailed because of that, from a search engine perspective anyway. When it comes to contact information, Google, quote, says in this document, be a detective to go and find that stuff. Like, where is it? How do I get hold of the company? So, don't make it difficult, because algorithmically, they can detect that in, milliseconds. If you don't provide that information, they'll know about it straight away. So, make sure that that's easy. This is what it says. Explore the website. If you cannot find a contact us page, sometimes you'll find it here, there, or even says go and check out Facebook. So this says to me that, they're looking at Facebook, they're looking at all these different channels to find this information. So YMYL, your money or your life, if you're in financial services, shopping, whatever, there's a lot of channels that fall under this. Your website can potentially impact on the future happiness, health, financial stability, or safety of Google's customers, which are your customers when they give them to you from the search result. So they pay particular attention to those type of websites. So these are a couple of examples: news, current affairs, government, civics, law. So if there's any legal companies, finance, shopping, that's massive. I mean, there's a broad brush there. Health and safety, groups of people, fitness, nutrition. Because you can imagine from a nutrition perspective, you're saying, hey, check out my protein powder. Google is saying, hang on a second, you're claiming all of this stuff, but show us the proof. So this is where it comes back to kind of referencing your statements on your website. So if you're saying something, you've got to back that up with, relevant sources of information. Yeah. So this is an extreme example of YMWL. So it's UK Med's one of the main online pharmacies in the UK. So it screams like authority, expertise, authority, and trust. So it's all of these things. Think back to Happy Beds, just an elevated example. So back in 2018, this was one of my clients, woke up one morning, rankings got obliterated, versus one of their competitors tripled their traffic. So we lost, this company gained. Google had changed, they'd rolled out what was called the Medic update, and primarily it was around trust. How do we, they were trying to learn how to trust brands more. That was the impact. So that was ones you can't trust, and it was because we didn't have a proactive review strategy. So we eventually implemented that. Versus these guys, they were good at what they did. So, and then we're talking mixed reputation. So they have very high page quality rating standards for YMWL pages, because low quality pages can negatively impact. So think about the content that you're putting out there and how you support that with relevant, whether it's reviews or sourced information. Good reputation, that's the key one they're looking for. Okay. And who's responsible? It's like, as it says here, every page belongs to a website, and it should be clear who's responsible for the website. So what company or entity, and who actually created the content on the page you're evaluating. So if your business, kind of revolves around you personally, or you've got a couple of people in that business who are key players, but their reputation on whatever channel is poor, that could be detrimentally, impact algorithmically on your business. So think about, that reputation of the creator. Just final couple of slides. So this is the Google Vision API. So I haven't done this. This is, you can go and try it out. You can drop an image into Google's Vision API, and it extracts this information visually. So it is seeing FIFO reviews. It is seeing, made in Britain. That is kind of the information that it's extracting here. So again, we've not scrolled down. We're providing all this information above the fold to support that journey. Yeah. Ask yourself, what's your reputation like? Because whenever I ask clients that, they're a bit taken aback by it. But you've got to what is your reputation like? Is it impacting on your business sales and lead gen? The end.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lee. That was fantastic. So yeah, first and foremost, if anyone has any questions, bung them in the chat. That's so we can I can relay them to Lee. Yeah, it's really interesting listening because I certainly identify with the stuff you were saying around reviews. I suspect that because we use a third-party fulfillment for some of the e-commerce stuff we do, yeah, stuff around delivery times and whatever is always going to, the stuff that we can't control, unfortunately, is certainly a bit of a problem for us sometimes, and that's, I suspect, where most of our negative reviews would come from. So yeah, to kind of sum up, I kind of felt like there was obviously the first thing you should do is Google your business. Again, you're right, absolutely. I can't remember the last time I actually Googled my business and didn't just go to the homepage, just to see what comes up there. So that's really important. And then obviously those things around just ticking those boxes around sort of contact information and those policies on payment, exchange, returns, and then reviews and reputation. Sean actually put in the chat that they use Trustpilot and it costs about $1,000 a quarter, but has been a great boost for them. So that's obviously, it's an expense, but what's, well, I suppose it's a difficult thing to say because it's how long is a piece of string, but how do you make, oh, actually, Malcolm's asking pretty much exactly the question I was going to ask, but Trustpilot versus FIFO versus reviews, any preference? Presumably just pick one, or are Google and Facebook reviews sufficient?
Google has, they have specific relationships with key review providers. So, the main ones, obviously, Trustpilot, FIFO, Reviews.io. There's a couple of other, key players in there. Quite often you'll see them referenced in your Google My Business page. Nobody's put that in there. Google has just put your Trustpilot review score in there. Likewise, it'll put your Facebook review score in there. So I think it comes back to like the user journey. The user journey may start for a lot of people on Facebook, so it's quite important to have your reviews. It's part of your review strategy. It's like, right, social media, what are we like, what are we looking like from a review perspective? Facebook tick, Google search perspective. So when somebody searches for a brand, what do they see? Product reviews, I'd pick an official one. That's, unfortunately, I'd probably go with one of the main players, because I think you're probably in a safe pair of hands there. They've got a lot of analytics around, and integrations. So they integrate straight away with Shopify, WooCommerce, Magento. There's very little heavy lifting to do in that regard. So, but yeah, they are expensive.
Yes, yeah, and it seems so. I suppose, obviously, especially if you're in the early stages and your revenue isn't huge, to get a small uptick or even a big uptick. But yeah, I suppose once you get over a certain revenue threshold, it really, really makes sense.
Yeah, Google My Business is free, so you can go and sign up for that one today, and go and target your customers with send them the link to review on there.
Yes, yeah, something we did quite effectively with one of our sites, and yeah, we send people to Google My Business for that, and we try and keep that updated. It's almost like the photo element of that. They try and keep that updated, almost like a social media platform. So I wonder whether Google sort of rewards you for keeping that updated. We're constantly trying to keep that fresh. Aaron has asked, what are you paying for with TripAdvisor? Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, TripAdvisor, again, it's its own platform. If I think of Booking.com, kind of a similar example, I filter my hotel choice by, review. It's like, has it got a really good score? It's that whole social proof thing, And I think, what are you paying for with TripAdvisor? they've got their own ecosystem. I think a lot of people trust the TripAdvisor platform, and that's where they go to make their kind of decisions. So yeah, well, as to what you're paying for, I'm not sure of the specific kind of review process with TripAdvisor, other than it's one of the key channels where people make their decisions.
Okay, but it's effectively free as a or is it premium service in the same way that TripAdvisor?
I think that's what you're referring to there, Aaron. Are you paying to have a listing there?
Yeah, and Aaron, tell you what, let me just quickly unmute you, and then you can ask directly, because I'm probably not. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, the question I was asking was, obviously people can still review you on Trustpilot, I believe. Is that right? Without paying for it. So what would be the benefits of actually paying for it if people are giving you good reviews anyway on it?
Ooh, good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. No, it's probably some kind of elevated position, or I don't know.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting. There's so many different places to manage your. That's the difficult thing, isn't it? So there's lots of different places to manage your reputation. I suppose Google, being the primary source of first search, is trying to pull all those different sources of reputation. I know from with Ramp, one of our businesses, it definitely pulls it from lots of different places, including Facebook.
So if you Google your brand, quite often second or third will be one of the main review platforms. If you're on Trustpilot, quite often Trustpilot will come in the top 5 results for your brand. It could be that they will add what's called review schema. So it's a technical way of showcasing your reviews to the search engines, and they will surface that. So if you will have seen it, if you search for something in the search results, you'll see a star rating next to some of the listings. It may be that they give you some kind of elevated exposure like that, so it just catches the eye in the search results.
Yeah, fair enough. And Sean's made a good point, actually, that you can negotiate with Trustpilot. So he said, best speaking with sales to see what you can get. I'd pay for the base, but get some upgrades for free. So yeah, certainly, I'm sure I'm sure you're not going to get it for 50 quid, but you can perhaps make some savings there. And lots of these big SaaS platforms have startup schemes where you can apply as a startup, and they'll give you reduced pricing in the early days, and then you go up to full pricing at a later point. But that's always worth asking. Good point, Sean. Yeah, always ask. So Lee has put some other links in the chat. So does anybody else have any further questions? If not, then I'll tell you what, I'll finish off then. Sean had another quick one. Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
So I thought, rather than trying to write it, I'll just actually ask
absolutely.
this. So this is a technical question, actually, with regards to Trustpilot as well. So obviously, when I do a search for my brand, which I do quite often, I see my pay-per-click ads. They pull a schema for the reviews from Trustpilot, but actually in my Google My Business, it doesn't aggregate both the Google reviews and the Trustpilot ones. It's just displaying the Google reviews. Yeah. Obviously, Trustpilot, we're showing 4.9 stars out of 5. On Google, we're just showing like 12 reviews that are 4 stars, because it's usually the negative customers who want to go outside of our usual ecosystem of Trustpilot. But yeah, love Trustpilot, automated reviews, really easy to reply to the reviews. Yeah, it is fantastic.
So I've only literally found out this morning, but you can see my screen there, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So yep. See that there. So it says verified additional company details, contact details, Google My Business account verified, and sync.
Let's get that fixed. Thank you. Because mine's not showing contact details at the moment.
Yeah, so I've literally only seen this morning, and I look at this page quite regularly. So whether that's relatively a new thing, I don't know.
Yeah, but that makes sense. I'm going to get that fixed now. Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate it.
You can see this kind of data for any brand that's on Trustpilot, so it's quite good from a competitor research perspective. So you can see, they get most of their reviews from organic Trustpilot. This brand doesn't pay for Trustpilot, so they their listing page is just out there gathering organic reviews.
Yeah, so I've just sent a link to obviously my Trustpilot transparency page. Basically, if you wanted to pull that up and share it with with everyone, I'm happy for you to do so.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it certainly looks like you're getting plenty of good reviews there. So
Yeah, we offer really good customer service, but it's like you just pointed out that contact details is grayed out, and it's like, yeah, that's probably why it's not working.
Okay. Yeah, so you're sending out automatic reviews. So
yeah, we're super seasonal, hence that obviously big arc during the summer months and downward arc during the winter months.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And Aaron has asked, is Totally Welsh any good? I'm not sure what that refers to, Aaron, but
Totally Welsh.
on Trustpilot. Oh, are you just asking for a brand appraisal? Oh, is that your brand, Aaron? Sorry, I've missed. Oh no, your Gen Power.
Gen Power. Okay. Gen Power.
So right, I see. But that was Totally Welsh before. Sorry, I tell you what, jump on a sec. Oh, sorry, I'm being really stupid. There are two Aarons. So yes, I'm absolutely confused.
We look Totally Welsh.
Yes, Totally Welsh. There we go.
I use Totally Welsh. We get our milk with you guys. Without going scrolling down, is that indicative? So what you're kind of saying there? I mean, my service is very good. Yes, 5-star. Is it those 32 people that have reviewed you have given that kind of says that 1 in 5 people don't have a good experience? I doubt that's the case. But if somebody said to me, right, I use Totally Welsh, go and check them out. This is the kind of journey that they go on, and it's something that's 4-star. It's like, but my experience is not that. So, you can dig into that, and because 32 people. I mean, I think I know five other people that use Totally Welsh to get their milk delivered as well. So, I doubt that is a truly indicative.
And that's the benefit of actually paying for a review platform, is that automation of invites, basically, from a trusted review brand. Basically, you're leaning on people trust Trustpilot or reviews.io. And it is just a case of, just leverage that. Yeah, you got to pay through the nose, unfortunately, but actually the social proof that it generates, it's amazing. So it is worth having like a management platform for automating your review invitations and then also replying to the reviews as well. Sorry, I'll leave you to it.
Yeah, I mean, you can see this is Totally Welsh. I've done a bit of work with Totally Welsh previously, so I know a bit about your technology there. So there's an integration job, because I think you've got a very bespoke platform. So yeah, there'll be a bit of integration work to get that into your tech stack. So it.
Okay. Yeah, Aaron's saying they had a bad batch of milk 3 or 4 weeks ago, which has really affected them. So yeah, I can understand that milk has a very small window of acceptance about what is good quality or not. You've got to get it absolutely 100% right. So totally understand that. So.
But yeah, and I think, but again, it's you. I don't know how many customers you've got, but it is about being proactive, because my experience is really good. I've not been asked to review it. I'll go and do it now, because we do have a good experience, and I suspect the vast majority. I mean, it's milk. It's occasionally. It's a natural product. It's going to have issues every now and then.
Well, as Aaron says in the chat, they do 65 litres a day, but you don't get many people saying they've had a good pint of milk, right? It's just you have a zero tolerance for. But
again, that's where the product is very rarely what gets reviewed. Yeah, it's the service, and primarily you are about service. Like, I know if I look out the window 6:30 in the morning, generally it's there. Well, 9 times out of 10 it's there. So it's
great.
Okay. That's I think you're a service business. Milk, I dare say milk is milk.
It's
But,
commodity, right? It does, yeah. Yeah, milk would be. I don't really, because I only really have milk and tea. I honestly couldn't tell you the difference between the stuff I would get at Lidl versus stuff I get at Marks and Spencer's. Fundamentally, it doesn't really mean a lot to me. So, right. Unless anybody has any questions, we'll wrap up there. I'm just trying to see if I can see whether it's sunny outside or whether it's clouded over. But I'm sure everyone's keen to get outside in the rare bit of sunshine for lunch. Lee, that was really brilliant. Thank you. I mean, I love working with Lee because he's very explains things very simply, but also really can get into the details and the weeds of stuff. So thanks everyone. It was a real pleasure. Your Lee is lee@visitdigital.com. If you need to contact me, I'm neil@neilcocker.com. Yeah, people saying thank you in the chat for you, Lee. And yeah, obviously, like I say, if anyone wants to have a quick 15-minute chat with Lee, free of charge, drop him a line. Lee, your presentation, would that be shareable?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. If you can send me a PDF or whatever, I can get that distributed to everyone who's attended. So
great.
And hopefully see some of you tomorrow for the event on senior recruiting. So cheers, folks. Lee, if you can stick around for 30 seconds at the end, and everyone else, class dismissed. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.